Fui a las comunidades indígenas.
I went to the indigenous communities and worked for 3 years in the jungle teaching. I'm an educator, so I taught the teachers how to develop their indigenous schools. And in one of these trips, we needed to go as a full team. So we had a dentist, another teacher, an agronomist, but we needed a doctor because the one that was going got sick. So I said, well, I think that in my church there is a guy who is studying medicine. I'll ask him. So I asked him if he wanted to come on this mission trip. And he said yes. In that trip, he only knew me because of all the other people were from other churches. So he sat next to me. I became the nurse. I helped him with everything. And that's when it all started. And that's my husband now. I've always wanted to have kids. I think that's why I also became a teacher, because I loved kids and it was as if I had candy. All the kids always looked for me. Everywhere I went, I always had kids around me. It was difficult because I got pregnant at the end of our first year of marriage and I lost my baby. I had a spontaneous miscarriage, and for me, the idea of a child was I just loved that idea. So it was a very dark and difficult time for both of us. I remember crying and always asking why. I actually do want a baby, and there are people that have abortions give their babies away. I want one. Why is it me that can have one? That was my question to the Lord. Why can't I have one and others just get to choose to throw their babies away? Why me?
I've always tried to help her, encourage her, and lift her up. In the midst of crisis, I've always tried to lift her up, to encourage her in the Lord, telling her that He is her strength and she can fully trust Him.
My parents are Christians, and they were with me, prayed with me. My husband was always by my side. I think that I even was depressed for a short time. I was very sad, and I remember crying and crying, and I would see a kid out on the street, and I would cry and cry. But the Lord was there. I believe that, like the Psalm says, even though I walk through the valley of shadow and death, I shall fear no evil, because you will be with me. And I could see the light, like the Lord was with me. But I was afraid to be pregnant again. So we waited 3 years to be able to have a baby. And with my husband as a doctor, I took every possible test. I went to the specialist, and until everything came out perfect, we said, okay, let's try to have a baby. We went to get our blood tested, and the nurse told us we were pregnant. And we were like, my husband's face. I mean, I was super happy, but my husband's face was of terror. And I was like, are you happy? Yes, but he was scared.
Very happy to see how God had answered and given her a new opportunity to be a mom. And the beginning was very happy, but after the news that the doctor gave them, it also was very sad and uncertain.
I started with really bad headaches when I was 3 months pregnant, just really bad headaches every day. Then I started to have fever and a lot of pain. Then we went to the specialist, and he said that he was going to run more tests. And in those tests, it was found that I had toxoplasmosis. It's a virus that, if acquired in the first 3 months of pregnancy, it could be fatal for the baby. We went to the geneticist, and he said, you're a young couple. There is a good chance that the baby is very sick. So then he advised us that the best thing to do was to abort this baby that was sick. And his arguments seemed valid. The baby could be microcephalic. The baby was going to be deaf and mute. So he would say, why bring a child into the world to suffer? A sick baby will only suffer and be a burden for you. You'll always be at the doctor. It is easier to lose this baby because it's sick, and then you try again. And when he said that, well, I crumbled. I have always been pro-life. I've never believed in abortion. But after the doctor said all that, I came to think he may be right. So I started walking down the street alone. And I started to cry and cry. And I found an open church I didn't know, so I went inside. And like in Hannah's story in the Bible, I knelt down and wept and wept. I remember the pastor came and looked at me, and I kept crying and crying and crying. I had an incredible peace in my heart, not thinking that God had told me that the baby was going to be fine, just thinking, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to kill my baby.
I had so much uncertainty. I did not know what to do, what to say, but in her heart, she said she was going to have this baby, no matter what.
At 8 months, I hadn't even reached 9. I couldn't take it anymore. I mean, I was very small, my belly was like this, so I was scheduled for a cesarean section. We named our daughter Laura Raquel Gil Olmos.
I just remember growing up and knowing, like, I'm here for him. Every time I get a little prideful, or I get a little like, oh, look at me, or like, oh, my life is so hard, or just like when I'm a little too focused on myself, then I remember that, and it's like, do you remember where you came from, though? It's never because of me. It's always because of him, and like, my beginning was like that.
I've always believed that we are not here by chance or a mistake of mom and dad. I've always believed that God has a purpose with each person. And with Lala, I've always seen God lift her up like a trumpet to announce God's beauty, through her voice to announce about His splendor.
The ironic thing is that what man thought and the diagnosis in that baby, he completely turned around. That mute girl is the one that sings and praises and has a powerful voice to proclaim His name. I always taught Lala that. I would tell her, remember where you come from. Never forget, because you are a miracle from God.